Souls-likes have been on the rise ever since Elden Ring. Everyone wants to capture that lightning in a bottle and create their own world with their own Souls-like experience. However, I think every company needs to stop before they do and play Lies of P. Lies of P did so many things well, and in this particular video, we are going to talk about those things. In my opinion, Lies of P is the best Souls-like experience you're going to get outside of a From Software game, and I think a lot of people can learn from it. So let's go ahead and jump into the video. So it started back in September 19th, 2023, a little over a year ago last month, and this game was marketed as the steampunk Pinocchio, and many people were comparing it to what Bloodborne 2 could have been in the Souls-like community. Now initially at launch, Lies of P had a bunch of reviews that were around the 80s. You had PlayStation 5 with 80, PC at 83, and Xbox at 85, which are not bad in any means. But eventually, as more people played the game, Lies of P skyrocketed to a 9 out of 10 on Steam, an 8 out of 10 in IGN of all places, and people were just raving about Lies of P. What did Lies of P do right? Whatever they did earned them a ton of winning awards at the Game Awards in 2023, and I believe they have a model that works incredibly well for multiple different reasons. Now, one of the reasons I think Lies of P succeeded so much was because at launch, there were no problems. We have seen time and time again that video games release rushed or completely unfinished to the player base, and everyone just drops the game because it's absolutely unplayable. If you saw the video I posted last week about Lords of the Fallen, you will know that that is exactly what happened to that game. Everybody was gone within the first month because the game was completely unplayable with frame rates, glitches, and a ton of problems at launch. Lies of P had none of that. Reason being is because the game was meticulously created and worked on for years before it was released to the public. Lies of P started development in 2020, and by 2023, the game was ready to release. And Roundite Studio also went from about 60 people to 100 to make sure that the game could come out on time and not fracture any of the quality of the game. Typically, studios would stay around the same level and put out a half-baked game and claim that it's live service. Lies of P also conducted an open beta a few months before release. Not only was this absolutely phenomenal on the studio's part, because it allowed them to get feedback and make last-minute corrections to the game so the player base would overall enjoy the experience, but it also gave people a ton of hope for future Souls-likes because the beta was so well received. It had over 1 million players a few months before launch who had downloaded the game, and it was just for the open beta, which was only up until the very first boss. So now that we've looked at what's happened up until launch of Lies of P and why that did so well, let's go ahead and look at what the actual game did so effectively to allow players to enjoy it so much, skyrocketing Lies of P up into one of the best Souls-likes that has ever come out in history. Well, first and foremost, let's look at the combat. The combat feels so good, if that makes sense at all. It just feels great to hit your opponent, it feels great to get those parries off, and Lies of P was high risk and high reward in some cases, especially when it came to the parry system. If you could manipulate those parries, you were able to absolutely obliterate everybody and soar through Lies of P feeling absolutely unstoppable. On the other hand, much like Sekiro, the parry system is incredibly punishing if you don't get those parries down. Having a lack of parry knowledge in this game would allow you to be very frustrated, abuse your stamina, and overall make the game a ton harder for yourself. However, hitting those parry windows would reward you with extra health back, as well as opening up extra windows in order for you to attack, getting bosses down faster. What I mean to say is Lies of P gave us a combat system that was rewarding to the player based on how much time they wanted to put in the game, and I think that's very important. In the same vein as combat, The weapon system in Lies of P was one of the first that we have ever seen of this particular type, having both a blade and a handle that you could swap back and forth between a variety of different weapons made the game incredibly fun, allowing for a variety of different builds, longevity of the game to be instilled based on the weapon system, and overall fun, mismatching, and placing different handles on different blades, allowing you for a ton of different weapons. We have seen other Souls-likes in the past just give us weapons to use, which is fine, but Lies of P made it interesting, allowing the players to control the weapon system. That was something that had never been done, and definitely made Lies of P stand out among many Souls-likes so far. And when it came to the bosses in Lies of P, I thought overall they were incredibly balanced, challenging, yet fun. However, that swamp monster, you gotta go, dude. Worst boss in the entire game, but I digress. The game was overall great when it came to the boss fights. The arenas were fun, the boss fights were challenging. They also allowed you to get some really awesome, what we'll call remembrance weapons, much like Elden Ring did, and they give you a great sense of accomplishment to beat. I still think the very last boss in Lies of P is one of the most challenging bosses that I've ever faced, and they've definitely set the bar really high moving forward into the promised DLC, which we'll get into in just a minute. Lies of P has laid the pathway for many Souls-likes to follow, and if they do follow them, I feel like they're going to do quite well, considering the blueprint is so rock solid. Now, the second to last aspect of Lies of P that I want to talk about is the fact that I think they did the story correct. They took source material from a story that we all knew and loved growing up, and they created something new with it. Now, I'm not saying that every single Souls-like needs to take inspiration from something that already exists. I think that would hinder creativity, but in this case, Lies of P hit it out of the park. Allowing Pinocchio to be in a steampunk Dark Souls type world really fit the bill, and made all the puppets pretty terrifying, and with this it also gave incredible importance to every single human we found in the game because they were so few and far between. And spoiler warning for the 6 of you guys who have never played Lies of P, but having Geppetto be the endgame enemy and the overall bad guy was an absolutely phenomenal twist in my personal opinion. In the source material of Pinocchio, Geppetto was the father, the creator, and had a ton of love for Pinocchio. However, in Lies of P, this was twisted and it became misguided, and he was more like Dr. Frankenstein than anything else. And the last thing I want to talk about when it comes to Souls-likes is the fact that Lies of P announced a DLC. Now, the DLC is coming supposedly in 2025, but it was the way in which they announced it that I thought was done with class and done very well. At the end of Lies of P's life cycle, which was pretty much after the first 3 months of release, we received a director's letter which let us know that more Lies of P content was coming. The game performed way better than they ever thought possible, and because of this, it allowed them to go further into Lies of P's story, promising us DLC later down the road. Not only does this boost the longevity of the game and keep people wanting to come back to it, but they also will have something to do with the New Game Plus until DLC arrives. Overall, I think Lies of P is definitely a Souls-like that has raised the bar a ton, and if we can start getting more Souls-likes of this caliber, then I think the genre is going to be very well received by all gamers. And guys, there you have it. I think that is what Lies of P did well, and what I think other Souls-likes can take away from it, allowing it to embellish their own games. Now, I would love to hear what you guys think about this down in the comments below. I know a ton of you guys follow me for Souls-like content, so I would love to hear your opinions on this. But are you excited for the Lies of P DLC coming next year? Did you like Lies of P when it released? Let me know down in the comments. So thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate it. Make sure to hit that bell notification and the sub button on your way out. And until next time, stay safe, enjoy the game, and I'll see you in the next one.